Cardigan and Flicker, the saviors of the valley. Cardigan the Flower Dragon, with scales the color of moss after a spring rain, and horns that gleamed like polished gold, hummed a gentle tune as she tended to her garden. Her breath, instead of fire, coaxed forth blossoms of every imaginable hue. Roses unfurled in velvety reds, lilies stood tall and white, and tiny forget-me-nots carpeted the ground in a sea of blue. Nearby, a small blue dragon with wide, worried eyes watched her. This was Flicker, and unlike the other young dragons in the Whispering Valley, he couldn't breathe fire. Instead, when he tried, only puffs of shimmering, harmless smoke would emerge, often smelling faintly of blueberries. The other young dragons sometimes teased him, calling him Flicker the Fizzle, but Cardigan was always kind. "Good morning, Flicker," Cardigan rumbled, her voice like the rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze. A sunflower, taller than Flicker, turned his face towards the sound. "Good morning, Cardigan," Flicker mumbled, kicking a loose pebble with his claw. "The air smells smoky again." Cardigan's horns dimmed slightly. For weeks now, strange, uncontrolled fires had been breaking out across the valley. They weren't the usual playful sparks of young dragons learning to breathe fire. These were wild and destructive, leaving patches of scorched earth and frightened creatures in their wake. The older dragons had tried everything, roaring warnings, creating windstorms to extinguish the flames, but the fires kept returning. "It's that pesky imp again, I reckon." Cardigan sighed, her nose twitching with annoyance, always causing trouble. The imp was a shadowy, mischievous creature that delighted in chaos. No one had ever seen it clearly, but its presence was always marked by the sudden, inexplicable outbursts of fire. Do you think we could do something about it?" Flicker asked hesitantly, his blue scales seeming to dim with doubt. Cardigan looked at the small dragon, her kind eyes filled with warmth. "Alone? Perhaps not. But together, Flicker, we might just have a chance." And so, the unlikely duo set off, Cardigan, with her knowledge of the valley and her calming presence, and Flicker, small and nimble, with a heart full of courage despite his lack of fire. Their first stop was the Whispering Woods, where a particularly nasty fire had recently swept through, leaving behind blackened trees and frightened squirrels. They found Harold, an old grumpy badger whose burrow had been narrowly sparred.
"That horrid imp appeared like a shadow, and then poof, flames everywhere."
"Did you see anything else, Harold?" Cardigan asked gently, coaxing a patch of clover to bloom near the badger's den. Harold squinted.
"Just a faint smell of something sour, like unripe berries, right before the fire started."
Flicker's ears perked up. "Sour berries? I've smelt that before." He remembered the time near the craggy peaks when he stumbled upon a patch of strange, pungent berries. Their next clue came from a family of field mice, whose meadow had been threatened. The mother mouse, her whiskers trembling, described a fleeting glimpse of a dark shape darting away just as the flames erupted. "It moved like smoke, but angrier," she squeaked. Cardigan and Flicker followed the trail of subtle clues. The lingering sour scent, the direction the shadow figure had fled. Their journey led them towards the shadowy crags, a jagged and foreboding part of the valley that most dragons avoid. As they ventured deeper into the crags, the air grew heavy and the sour smell intensified. They finally reached a narrow crevice. Hiding behind a curtain of thorny vines, a faint, flickering light emanated from within. "This must be it," Cardigan whispered, her golden horns glowing softly. Flicker felt a tremor of fear, but he stood his ground beside his friend. "What do we do?" he squeaked. Cardigan thought for a moment, her brows furrowed. "The imp seems to thrive on chaos and fear. My flowers bringing peace and calm, but they can't reach it in this darkness." Your smoke, Flicker. It's not fire, but it's disorienting, isn't it?" Flicker looked surprised. "Disorienting?" "Yes. Cardigan explained. When you puff it out, it shimmers and obscures vision for a moment. Maybe, just maybe, if we combine our strengths. Taking a deep breath, Cardigan gently pushed aside the vines. The crevice opened into a small, damp cavern. In the center, a shadowy figure writhed and chuckled. Small flickers of dark fire dancing around it. The imp. As soon as it saw them, the imp shrieked and sent a wave of dark flames towards them. Cardigan quickly exhaled a cloud of bluebells, their sweet scent momentarily confusing the imp. Now, Flicker! Cardigan urged. Flicker, his heart pounding, took a deep breath and puffed out a large cloud of his shimmering blueberry-scented smoke. It wasn't fire, but it billowed outwards, a swirling, disorienting haze that enveloped the imp. The imp sputtered and swatted at the smoke, its shadowy form flickering erratically. It clearly wasn't used to anything that wasn't destructive fire. Cardigan seized the opportunity. She focused all her will, and a cascade of luminous white lilies bloomed around the imp, their gentle light pushing back the darkness. The imp shrieked again, a sound of pure frustration. It recoiled from the light and the disorienting smoke, its shadowy form shrinking and fading. The sour smell weakened, and the dark flames flickered and died. Slowly the smoke cleared, and the lilies bathed the cavern in a soft glow. The imp was gone. Cardigan and Flicker looked at each other, a sense of relief washing over them. They had done it. They returned to the Whispering Valley, and as they did, the air felt cleaner, lighter. The fear that had gripped the valley began to dissipate. The other dragons who had been worried sick greeted them with cheers and astonished looks. You banished the imp?" a young red dragon stammered, looking at Flicker with a newfound respect. Cardigan smiled. "We did it together. Flicker's unique puff was surprisingly effective." Flicker puffed out a small cloud of blueberry smoke, this time not out of nervousness, but with a hint of pride, with other younger dragons watching in fascination. From that day on, the fire stopped. The Whispering Valley returned to its peaceful rhythm. Flicker was no longer Flicker the Fizzle. He was Flicker the Brave, the dragon who used his unique ability to save their home, and Cardigan the Gentle Flower Dragon, who was admired even more for her wisdom and her belief in her little friend. They had shown everyone that kindness and cleverness, combined with a brave heart, could overcome even the most fiery of challenges. And sometimes, the things that make you different are the very things that make you special. Sweet dreams, and thank you for listening.